Hello again, everyone. Before I go on to a new city, this week I'll be talking about Carolina sports teams. I'm going to finish off my Washington week with a look at the Wizards. Right now, I wanted to wait a couple days after the draft because the Wizards were a pretty active team at the draft, so I wanted to wait a couple days, see if maybe they were going to make some more moves before I did Washington week and maybe missed out on something. But I'm going to do it now. Who knows, there could be more moves made today or even later on this week. But I don't want to wait too long before I get to Washington week finished off, so I'm going to talk about the Wizards right now. Looking at the Wizards, they did have the 19th pick overall, and they drafted Jerian Grant, who was a point guard with that pick. They did trade him to the New York Knicks, and they also drafted Aaron White with their 49th pick, who was a power forward. When they traded Jerian Grant, my apologies, they picked up Kelly Oubre, who is a shooting guard, who was the 15th pick overall. So that was the trade made there. I was a little surprised when I first saw them draft Grant, who is a point guard, because I thought they have Wall and Beal. They don't really need another point guard. They got arguably one of the best point guard combos, backcourt combos in the league. So that was a little surprising. But then once they made the trade and picked up Kelly Oubre, it made a lot of sense. Pierce is probably on his way out. He has elective free agency, and I don't see him re-signing with Washington. A lot of people are thinking he might go to the Clippers to play for Doc Rivers again. I know my Boston fans out there would love him to come back to the Celtics, finish off his career. So we'll see what happens with him. But definitely, they didn't need a guard. They definitely needed more of a shooting guard position than a point guard position player for sure. They also got Daniel Diaz, who was the 54th overall draft pick in a trade. Whether he turns into anything, who knows? Same with Aaron White at the 49th pick. It's kind of hard to judge whether second round picks are going to make an impact on a team, even crack a roster. They might play a couple years in the D League and then you never hear from them again. They might be a surprise and turn into a great player like Monte Ellis was back in the 05 draft, kind of thing, or Gortat on this current team. He was the I want to say 57th overall pick in the 05 draft when he was taken, and now he's turned into the center of this Washington team that made it to the second round of the playoffs, and I think he's a solid center for this team. I think they got a really good team here in Washington. I do think they have the ability to go further in the playoffs. I mean, I don't want to say they upset the Raptors or that it was they were the underdog and that was a fluke. I think even though they were the 5 seed and Toronto was the 4, I still don't think Toronto's quite going to be that playoff caliber team just yet. Playing in the Atlantic, I do think really hurts any team that wins that division, even though you are going to get a top 4 seed, although I think that might have been switched, that now it is just going to be based on records, so even if you do win your division, you could still end up being a 5 or 6 seed. If those reports are true, I'm not sure if that's been finalized yet or not. But if that's not true and you still get a top seed, I think playing in the Atlantic doesn't help a team when it gets to the playoffs. Mainly because you can win 40 games and not even have a 500 season and you'll probably still win that division. So whoever they do play, whoever the winner of that division is, they haven't had a lot of tough talent. Because 16 of the games they've played have been against teams in your division, obviously, and that division is a very weak division. So I don't think whoever wins the Atlantic is ready for the playoffs, and I think Washington showed that when they played Toronto. Toronto's a good team, don't get me wrong. Being Canadian, obviously, I love the Raptors. Don't want to beat them up too much, but Washington showed that they were just superior to the Raptors in the first round, just by sweeping them. And with ease, I think, as well. It wasn't a tough series at all, for sure. But Washington's got some good guys, for sure. Wall and Beal, obviously, are great 1-2 punch. I'll talk about them first. When you look at Beal, he only played in 63 games last year and started 59 of those. So you give him another 20 games on a season. Imagine what this team could do. 46 and 36 last year, number 5 in the East. Beal plays another 20 games. This can easily be a 50-win team, I think. And can be a very successful team and go deeper in the playoffs. Like I said, they swept the Raptors in the first round, and they took the Hawks to 6 in the second round. It's not like they were out in the second round pretty quick. They took the number 1 seed in the East to 6 games. And then Cleveland obviously destroyed the Hawks in the conference final. But this is a good team, and I think Beal and Wall are definitely the 1-2 punch that this team needs. Like I said, Beal only played in 63 games, started 59 of those, averaged 15.3 points per game with 3.8 boards and 3.1 assists. And then John Wall played in 79 games, started all of those. He averaged 17.6 points per game with 4.5 boards and averaged 10 assists per game. So that's fantastic when you can have a guard combination that can go out and get you 30 plus points per game, plus 13 assists. I think that's solid. I think Wall can be a 20-10 kind of guy, 20 points per night with 10 assists. I think that's definitely possible. I think Beal can also be a 20 point per night guy. And then I think what allows them to be so successful is they got good players around them as well. Pierce obviously probably not re-signing with this team. I think he was a great veteran presence for this team. He chipped in with 12 points per game and 4 boards, so great veteran presence for this team to have. Nene only played in 67 games, so he missed part of the season as well. Started in 58 of those. He averaged 11 points per game. Good guy to have for sure. Drew Gooden, another veteran, only played in 51 games. Started in 7 of those. Another good veteran to have on your team. Not so much production. He only put in 5.4 points per game with 4.4 boards. He's a free agent, so who knows? He could be on his way out. So we'll see what happens with him there. Gortat, like I said, is a great center to have on the team. Played in all 82 games, started all 82 games, so he's a durable guy. And for a 57th overall pick, who thought he's going to turn into a guy who last year was averaging 12.2 points per game with 8.7 boards per game. So I think Wall can be an easy 20 points, 10 boards a night, and I think Gortat can be an easy 15 points a night with 10 boards. I think Gortat has the ability to be a double-digit board per night kind of guy. So I think between Wall, Beal, and Gortat, I think you have 3 guys there that could easily average 50 plus points per night. So you just find some other guys that can chip in with the other 50, and you play solid defense. This team's going to play well and continue to play well going forward. Porter, young guy they have on their team, played in 74 games, started 13 of those, chipped in with 6 points per game, 2.9 boards. Sessions only played in 28 games, but he has 7.4 points per game in those with 2.7 boards and 3.1 assists. He did play 36 games with the Spurs, so obviously great guy to bring in coming from a winning organization for sure. Seraphin's played in 79 games, good bench player for them, 6.6 points per game with 3.6 boards. And then Temple played in 52 games with 18 starts, 3.9 points per game from him. And then to round out the roster, you got Butler, who's a forward who had 75 games played in, and 7.7 points per game with 2.7 boards. So they have a good, solid roster here, and I think Oubre is going to be a good shooting guard for them, bringing him in. See what happens with the second-round picks they have there. Maybe they'll turn into something. Who knows? And who knows? They could still be wheeling and dealing out there. Like I said, Pierce is probably going to elect free agency and go to a different team. But I think Beal, Wall, Gortat, I think those 3 guys are a great combination, great group of guys to go forward with. That's going to take this team, I think, going forward. And I definitely don't see them not making the playoffs again this year. 46 and 36, like I said last year. I think they got the ability to be a 50-win team this year, depending on who they bring in to replace. And I use that word very lightly because it's very hard to replace a Paul Pierce kind of a player. But if they can bring in another guy who can chip in with 10 points per game, Nene plays a full season and he continues to chip in with his 10 plus points per game. This team can do good things and can continue to win and win a lot of games going forward. Again, playing in the East definitely helps these teams for sure. The West is the superior conference by far, in my opinion. But you still have to win games. You can't just have a 500 season and make the playoffs in the East. I mean, you can, but you're not going to have a top seed. Like the Wizards still had to go 46 and 36 just to get the 5 seed. So if they win 50 games, then maybe they get into that top 4 seed and they can get home court advantage in the first round. Not that they necessarily need it, as they showed this past postseason, that they can get to the second round and compete against the number 1 seed in the second round. But obviously home court advantage is just nice to have, especially in the first round. It gives you that little extra kick to make it to the second round and go further in the playoffs. So keep an eye on these Wizards. I definitely do think they are getting better and are going to continue to be a good team throughout the end of this decade and going forward. Thank you again all for watching and listening. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614. And like I said, I'll be doing this week on Carolina sports teams, so I'll be definitely talking about the Hornets of the NBA this week once I get to Carolina teams. Just wanted to finish off Washington week with my look at the Wizards. All right, thanks again. Bye-bye.